I call Eugenie Sage.
Malalo Whawhaitai, Mr. Speaker. Pleased to take a call on the Riccarton Racecourse Bill and the Riccarton Racecourse Development Enabling Bill. The Green Party is supporting this bill because it's going to provide land within the city limits for new housing, and because a significant component, some 180 homes of the 600 which are proposed to be built on the 40 hectares of the Riccarton Racecourse, will be for affordable housing. So it's not leading to further urban sprawl. And we certainly need those extra 180 affordable houses in Christchurch, though question the definition of affordable in the bill, which is $450,000 sale price, because that is hardly affordable for a lot of people. But we need that affordable housing because the city is predicted to grow by around 80,000 people before 2043, and because we've seen such massive loss of affordable housing as a result of the quakes, particularly in the east of Christchurch. And we've seen a huge increase both in house prices and in rental costs. And now the average house price is around $490,000. And certainly a lot of new building consents and some new houses being built, but those are targeted at the higher end of the market. And Mr. Speaker, that is why this government has failed in tackling our crisis in housing, tackling homelessness, the fact that people are sleeping in cars, on the streets regularly, in garages. Because back in the 60s and 70s, about 30% of the new homes that were being built were for affordable homes. Now it's around 5%. That's why the government needs to get active and actually enable Housing New Zealand to build more affordable homes. That's why the Green policy is to ensure that Housing New Zealand can keep its dividend, can keep the tax that it would pay the government, and use that to make a start on building new homes. So we're supporting this bill, but it is a very small measure in addressing the crisis we have in housing in New Zealand. And one provision of the bill is that if these if these 180 homes that are affordable aren't built, then the developer, in terms of the Racecourse Trust and Ngāi Tahu, have to pay a penalty to the Crown of around $3 million. But we still have some concerns about the way the development may proceed, because there were issues raised by submitters about the loss of open space and green space in this part of Christchurch. There weren't many submitters certainly, but one of them, William Morgan, noted that the other subdivision developments in the area at Yaldhurst Village and the Kintyre Estate, along with this one at Riccarton Racecourse, would result in 1,200 new households. And his concern was that there wasn't adequate provision of open space in those other subdivision developments, that we've seen the loss of open space at Wigram Airport, and that this area is not, as the Minister claimed, not well used. It is well used for passive recreation, particularly during the week, for running, for walking dogs, for walking, and just enjoying being amongst the trees and in that open area. And I was really troubled by the Minister's comments in his introduction, which were seeming to suggest that if you had green space which wasn't being highly used, then that should automatically be available for housing development, because we will get very unhealthy cities and towns if that is to be the Minister's attitude through this new National Policy Statement on Urban Development that we are seeing tomorrow. It fails to appreciate the importance of green open space. We've got rising obesity rates, rising issues with mental health, and there is a considerable amount of research which shows that being exposed to nature, being able to enjoy open space, improves people's well-being, and of course it provides a place for exercise, which both improves well-being and improves health outcomes. So we want to ensure that the subdivision that happens here is well integrated both with existing public transport, that the roads are wide enough to accommodate buses, which they haven't been in subdivisions like Northwood, and that the City Council really looks at these issues around integration with existing services, around making sure that it's not just pedestrian walkways that are provided through the subdivision, that we have more than the 2 small reserves that are proposed. Certainly Paparua Stream is going to be enhanced, but we need to ensure that there is good open space so that there are good amenity values, not just for the residents in this new subdivision, but also from neighbouring areas, because the Riccarton Racecourse land has catered to those needs for passive recreation. And, Mr Speaker, this whole thrust in the Green Party's policy for green cities and towns is that we have subdivision that is not just urban sprawl on the outskirts where there are very high costs of people commuting to work, to city services, but that new development is well integrated, that it has adequate provision for stormwater management. And again, Riccarton Racecourse at the moment is a soak for stormwater. That helps replenish the aquifers. If we get a lot of hard surfaces in the area without adequate green space, that generates more stormwater, which then the City Council has to deal with. So green spaces are really important in providing livable cities and towns, and the Minister needs to ensure that in his National Policy Statement on Urban Development, that's not just going to be a fast track to convert reserves to housing areas. And there is a real risk of that if he uses the truncated process that he's made available in the Resource Management Act, where a national policy statement doesn't have to go out to a board of inquiry. He can appoint a single person to consider submissions, and there doesn't have to be a public hearing. Because the hearing process, as on this bill, even though there are only a few people who made submissions, highlighted some issues for the Select Committee, which did lead to some changes in the bill in terms of ensuring how the Racecourse Trust Board can use some of the revenue that is generated, and just ensuring that the bill was a lot clearer in terms of the way that it operated. So we support affordable housing. We don't want to see this being a precedent for seeing other reserves and green space in urban areas converted to affordable housing, because those areas are quite critical in providing for good amenity and sustainable cities and towns, and ensuring that we cater for other values like public recreation and public health and wellbeing. Thank you.
Call Dennis O'Rourke.